Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today I have a set of super versatile dies and stamps with card making magic. We have two die sets with all over designs like the Simply Flowers and Simply Elegant. Each of these has the design plus the aperture die or window. Then we have the Simply Sentiments and Labels, which contains 8 sentiment stamps, plus 4 label dies that match them perfectly, and the package shows you which ones go together. All of these items come in really handy storage folders, so it's easy to stay organized too. These dies and stamps are classic, great for year-round card making, so I'm really glad you're here today, and I can't wait to get into the projects with you. Come play with us. This card is a great example of how the dies and stamps can be used together to create a classic, elegant card design. Now, I'm using a slimline blank card, and this is one that measures 3.5 inches going this way and 8.5 inches going across. So it's a fun, slightly different format to use and works beautifully with the dies that we're working with today. So here I'm using the Simply Elegant panel for this center section here. So this is the die design. It can go vertically or horizontally. And you can see how it just creates a beautiful center section for this card. I'm layering it with the Simply Sentiments and Labels stamp and die combination here. Now, in order to create even more layers, I also incorporated hot off the presses 10 oval and scallop cutting dies. This is a set that I use an awful lot, and it just works perfectly to nest with the Simply Sentiments oval shape, and it gives you even more design options. Okay, but let's start with this panel die. So in your die set, you have 2 dies. You've got the aperture or the window, and then you have the die design itself. Now, if you want to create a panel like this with the frame around the outside edge, then you'll use both of these together. So let me grab a piece of cardstock here, and you'll simply place them down together. Now, you can do them separately. I like to do them together because it's a little more efficient. I'll just place the 2 of these together, and then I like to use some of the Hunky Dory low tack tape. And I'll just secure these down with that tape before I run it through my die cutting machine. So I put on several pieces of tape here, and then I'll simply run this through your die cutting machine. Now, a couple of tips. Because this is a fairly intricate design, I like to run the plates through a couple of times, and you may even give the quick release die paper a go. While I haven't used it myself, the reviews on the Paper Wishes website are absolutely glowing, so I'm putting that on my wish list. That's the quick release die paper. And then once you have that all die cut, you'll have a beautiful piece that looks like this. So you've got the center section, and then you've got that frame. Then you can use that aperture die to cut a backing piece that will match perfectly. And then there you go. So you can do a contrasting backing piece or go for something more tone on tone if you want to. Now, what about gluing down an intricate die? Well, I've got 2 options that I've used for the cards in this webisode. One of them is sticky specs. Now, sticky specs come on an A4, 8.5 by 11 size sheet. You can see I've trimmed off a piece of it here. These are micro adhesive dots. So this is the sticky side, and what you can do is just peel this back, position your intricate die cut on here, smooth this down, lift it up, and it will have these little dots adhered to it. So I just place that down like so. I can use this many more times, so it's a really good value as well. And then I'll simply aim this down on here, and I've got my piece glued in place. So I don't have any glue sort of squashing out from underneath that intricate design. So that's one option. Now another option would be to use some white glue in the fine tip glue applicator. And this also works beautifully because you can really just apply around those outside edges and then some of the thicker areas here on the design. So either way, both of those options work beautifully. Okay, I'm going to bring back in my card. And I'm using cardstock from the Nature's Touch cardstock pack for the background piece and for all of this beautiful layering on here. And then I have some white cardstock for my sentiment. Now, speaking of the sentiment and the stamping and a little bit more about the layering here, I'm going to grab my Misty and a few of my other dies and we can take a look at how to put that together. First, about these stamps and dies, I am really so pleased with this collection. You have 8 sentiments that are covering a wide range of card giving occasions from birthday to get well. They can go on the front or the inside of your card, and the font is one that stamps cleanly and is easy to read. Very important for us card makers. You have 4 dies, and the stamps mix and match pretty easily on the die designs. So you have a fair number of options here. Really, really happy with the quality of this collection. Okay, I've got my Misty all set to go. I've got some plain smooth white cardstock here. And I'm going to grab the sentiment from the Simply Sentiments collection. I'll take this one right here and position this right onto my white cardstock. And then I'll just close this up and that stamp will cling to the other side here. And then I can ink it up. And I'm using the VersaFine ink in Onyx Black. This is one of my go-to black ink pads. It works really nicely with sentiment stamps, anything that has, as the name might suggest, fine lines. Okay, and then I'm just going to come back here, close this up, and press. And then I can lift this up again, and voila, there we go. Now the nice thing about the Misty is, of course, if I happened to miss a spot or maybe something didn't print perfectly, I can simply close this up and reposition it, press again, and make sure that I've got total coverage on there. And then all I need to do is just clean off my stamp. And I use a baby wipe or a little bit of water and a damp cloth. And then I am ready to go. So I'll move this aside. And you can see I've got my sentiment here. Now, I die cut my sentiment using, as I mentioned, hot off the presses oval and scallop dies. So that's this die right here. And I've just simply positioned that on here, put my low tack tape on either side and ran it through my die cutting machine. You can also, of course, die cut an oval and then stamp. I like to do it on the bigger piece of paper because then my magnets have more space to kind of hold on to. So I'm not trying to stamp with those magnets, tacking it onto a little tiny area. But either way, whichever way you like to go. Then once I die cut that, I have a piece that looks like this. Now, what I wanted to do from there is start layering things up. So I'm using the kind of a filigree design on here from today's collection, and that gives me a piece that looks like this. So then what I can do, let me grab just a little bit of my glue here, and I'll just tack this down with a little bit. I can layer this up right in the center. Now I can also use foam tape. So let's position that down there just to hold that down for now. And I could be ready to go with this. But of course there are ovals in that hot off the press die set. So then maybe what I want to do, again, just tacking this down with a little bit of glue so it doesn't slide all over. I'll place this like so. And then I've got a really nicely, oops, a little bit uneven. Here we go, slide that away. Then I've got a really nice layered scalloped design. Then, of course, if I want to, I can keep going. But it's nice to have another design option, pulling some of your sort of standard or classic dies right from your own stash. You guys know I love this oval.
and scallop designs. So then, you can keep layering like I did here for the front of my card. Now with these, I've simply got this positioned right into the center on top of that beautiful background. This portion is mounted up on some foam tape. Then I've got some foam tape underneath here. And then when I open the card up, you can see I have some more of this green cardstock layered together and another label and sentiment in the middle. Now in this case, I just stamped it right onto that beautiful filigreed rectangle on here so that I've got quite a simple sentiment on here. I love keeping that tone on tone look, and I also like the contrast on the inside here with this white border, which I've also got on the front of the card. I think it creates a nice contrast with these dark green colors and also coordinates with the white of the card focal. All right, I've got another card that I want to show you. Now, I just love how easily these label dies and stamps mix and match. So this sentiment that you see here is stamped onto the very same rectangle that you can see here, and they look completely different, of course, because the sentiments are different and the colors are too. So really such a versatile collection. So I've stamped and die cut this and then put it with foam tape on the front of the card. So the die you see here is the Simply Flowers panels. I can show you this here, that gorgeous design. And I've simply trimmed it down so that it can go vertically on this card front. And when you do this, I really suggest you use those sticky specks so that you're able to get adhesive on all of these small ends that don't have this frame going around the outside edge. So that will just help to keep those in place. So sticky specks are a good option for this. And then I've used the pattern papers from the X-Ray Flowers paper pack and coordinating X-Ray Flowers cardstock set. Then for the card inside, as you can see, I have another sentiment stamped onto a hot off the press circle die, which fits perfectly onto this label die, just as we've seen with the ovals. So again, some more design options, some layering options, and a great way to incorporate some of the older stash items that you may have in your collection. Here's another look at the Simply Flowers design, this time die cut from white cardstock and layered onto a contrasting orange panel. In this case, I also die cut the flowers a second time, this time from yellow cardstock, and then use sticky specks to place a few cut elements on top of the design. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'll move aside these two things, and here is my die cut piece. So I've backed that onto a contrasting color. We'll just use blue in this case. So you can see how beautiful that design is. Now, one little diversion I wanted to just mention, that although it looks pretty on contrasting cardstock, I think for a wedding or anniversary, this would also be absolutely beautiful on white cardstock too. I think that just looks gorgeous. Okay, back to my contrasting cardstock here. Position the two of those together, and again, using either the white glue or sticky specks to adhere them. And then what I've done is die cut a second piece of this overall design. And so you can see here I've got lots of individual elements that I can work with. And so I'll just figure out which one I want to use. And then I'm just going to grab my scissors here and trim this out. So let's see, come along here. And you may need to kind of polish up a loose end here. And then I would use my sticky specks to simply glue this down in place like so. And then you've got a really beautiful layered effect, and it again creates another bit of contrast and dimension in here. Super simple to do. So let me bring back in my card, and you can see again, so here I've got the yellow flower over here and then another one over here to create some nice balance. Now the pattern paper I'm using is from the Be Happy set. which has really nice, bright, and cheerful colors. And I'm also using the coordinating Be Happy cardstock set with those beautiful yellows and oranges. Again, I have the sentiment stamped and popped up with a hot off the press circle. So again, here we go. This is the die design. And when you die cut it, for example, from yellow, you'll get this really beautiful piece. So you could stamp your sentiment right on here if you wanted to, or use hot off the presses circle and scallop dies, another favorite of mine, as I think you may know. And then you have a piece like that. And this can just by coincidence, fits in here perfectly. So again, giving you some more design options to play with. All right, so then for my card inside, I have a simple strip of pattern paper layered up on cardstock, plus the sentiment stamped directly into the card inside. I wanted to use one of the panel dies without the border die, so I cut the Simply Elegant design right from the front of my card blank, and that's going to give me this effect. So to do that, let me bring in my blank white card. So I have this unfolded, keeping this open, and I'm going to take my die design and simply position that right up along the edge and secure it down with some low tack tape as before, run it through the die cutting machine, and then I will have a card blank that looks like this. And then I can go ahead and fold this up, and my design can either be at the bottom or it can be along the side of my card. And then what I've done in this case is backed it with some green, contrasting green cardstock. Of course, you could do something more tone on tone, or you could leave it white on the inside, just depending on the look that you're going for. Then I've layered on the border some of the pattern paper and cardstock from the Be Happy set. And I used the Simply Sentiments square label popped up onto, you guessed it, one of Hot Off the Press's scalloped square dies. So again, another one of the collections that I have out on my work surface all the time. And I think this looks beautiful. So I've got this popped up on foam tape. I've got some contrasting colors of squares underneath here. And that's just overlapping between the pattern paper and this gorgeous filigree style design here. And then for my card inside, again, I've just got this green back here, keeping it quite simple. And then I've stamped a sentiment down here at the bottom. And this is our final card project of the day today. So let me position these out here so you can take another look, at least a couple of them. Oh, let's fit in one more. Here we go. Now, I want to say a big thank you to our friends at Card Making Magic for this versatile collection. I had such a great time with this, and I can tell that I'm going to be using this combination of stamps and dies quite a lot. A special thanks to you for joining me today. We're really so glad that you're here, and we're happy you're a part of the Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, just see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.